Okay, we shall continue on this session 2, and we are now on lesson 3, otherwise known as the 4 categories of knowledge. So under this, we have the following session outline. So the definition of knowledge and its nature, categories of knowledge, educational implications of knowledge acquisition, and lastly, applying this strategies, okay, in order for us teachers to help learners develop this what we call knowledge. So again, the course is facilitating learner-centered teaching. Therefore, it's about learning. And when we speak about learning, we talk about knowledge. So let's start with the first subtopic. That's the definition of knowledge and its nature. So this one is based from Merriam-Webster dictionary. So it says in the dictionary that knowledge is the fact or condition of knowing something with familiarity, gained through experience or association. Okay. Another definition from the same uh, ebook, it is the acquaintance with or understanding of a science, art, or technique. So I would like to highlight the words knowing, the condition of knowing. So if you know something, that's knowledge. Okay, whatever something is that, that's considered as knowledge. Okay. Another word to highlight is understanding. So knowing and understanding are two important concepts that lead to knowledge. If you know something, if you understand something, then that is your acquired experience. That is your gained experience. And that is knowledge. Okay? So now the question is, why do we need to study about the different categories of knowledge? Why do we need to study about knowledge? It's because in order for us teachers to identify what type of knowledge are we giving to our learners, and therefore we could strategize on varying these types of knowledge that we relate to our learners. That they already developed this type of knowledge, then it's now the perfect time to move to another type of knowledge. So we would not give the same because the tendency for classroom instruction is that if you don't assess on the type of knowledge you provide, tendency is that you give the same type of knowledge over and over again. Now, what's the pedagogical implication, the educational implication of this one? It will help teachers to vary the food that we serve inside the classroom. That's symbolic, okay? When I say food, it's the lesson. So it will help us vary, differ, okay? The type of lessons, the type of learnings that we provide to our learners, that we develop the child, the learner, holistically by means of providing varying forms of knowledge. So what are these categories of knowledge? First category is what we call the declarative knowledge. So what do we mean by declarative knowledge? It's something which can be stored, recalled, and declared. So mostly on memory. That's why it's memory oriented and language based. Like you need to recite everything. If you enumerate something, then that's recalling. Okay. If you listed on the different categories of knowledge, then that's basic recall. It's about memory. Okay. So it's some sort of factual. Okay. These are factual concepts like what's the capital of the country, uh, what's the name of this object, what's the name of this principle, simple recall. Okay, it's language-based and memory-oriented. So here are the subtypes. It could be labels or names, okay, associating the labels to its object, the names to its objects. Like, for example, what's this one? If you ask the child, what's this one? Tendency is basic recall. They would recall what do we label this object. So they would say eyeglasses. Okay, it's what you are practicing there is declarative knowledge. So it's more on facts and lists. That's another subtype. So you know facts like in science, in mathematics. Okay, listing in terms of enumeration tests. Diba? You ask them to enumerate or list down. Okay, the following list down yellow fruits. They will list down different types or different examples of yellow fruits. So that is declarative knowledge. And last is organizational discourse. So when you see organizational discourse, this is something to do with linking what you have learned to stating them. Okay, you learn them, then you state them. Okay, organizational discourse. Like when you define something, when you do something that calls for declaration of what has been stored in your mind. Okay, how to do that? Of course, you need to organize everything into this course, either into speech, either oral or written. Okay, that's declarative knowledge. So I repeat, the keyword for declarative knowledge is memory and recall. That's how we will understand uh, declarative knowledge. Okay, next category is what we call the procedural knowledge, from the word procedure. Okay, yeah. So it's about something that we can do. So when we talk about something that we can do, we talk about motor learning or something procedural. It involves procedure. So it says here that declarative knowledge is a knowledge that becomes automatic. Okay, for example, when you cross the street, of course, automatic is that you would look left and right. That's your procedure, right? Left and right. Step one is to look left and right before crossing the street. That's procedural knowledge. Okay, formerly a declarative knowledge that became automatic, and then you do it in steps. Okay, another is riding a bicycle. Okay, before you just know what's a bicycle. You just know how to use the pedal. And then you do balancing. And then you've learned how to bike. That's procedural knowledge. Okay? Dancing the tinkling. Or you start with the basic steps. Okay? Basic recall of these steps. Declarative yun. Pinulit-ulit mo. Step 1, step 2, step 3 until it becomes automatic. Then that becomes procedural knowledge. Okay? So it is learned more implicitly than explicitly. Unlike declarative, it's explicit, direct. Okay? But when you say procedural, kaya nga, it becomes automatic because on the initial stages, all you have to do is to recall. And then little by little, unconsciously, sometimes unconsciously, you would realize that you already learned these steps, okay, learned the skills, and then it already became automatic into your system. Okay, katulad ng simpleng pagtawid, automatic na titingnan na sa left and right. You don't have to recall or to exert effort to recall what to do. It becomes automatic into your system. That's procedural knowledge, the second category. Third category is functional. Okay, I'd like to correct the spelling. It's F-U-N. Functional knowledge. So this refers to stored information that can be applied to different circumstances, or otherwise known as transferable to different settings. So something which we could use in real life. Okay, it's concrete and usable rather than abstract and theoretical. Okay, something that is happening in the physical realm, something that we could apply in physical realm. Like when you think of abstract reasons, okay, abstract knowledge, nandito lang siya. That if you will be using them, okay, that stored information into real life, that becomes functional. Okay, it's something that you can apply in real life. Example, addition. Alam mo, addition into your mind, that's abstract. It's stored here. You know the way to addition, to adding things. Okay, the four mathematical operations. But once you apply them into real life, tulad ng pagsukli sa jeep, okay, pagbabayad sa jeep, pagbabayad sa palengke, pagbibilang sa grocery store, then that becomes functional. Your knowledge becomes functional. So that's what we mean by functional knowledge. Okay. So these are the three basic categories of knowledge. Now, aside from this, we have the other classification of knowledge. Knowledge may be classified either as episodic or semantic. So when you say episodic, it refers to your biological knowledge, like during your childhood years, your memories during your childhood years. It's episodic. diba? You still know what happened during your childhood years, your childhood experiences. Okay, that refers to episodic knowledge. Like if your teacher would ask you to narrate your most unforgettable summer experience or birthday experience or your New Year experience, Christmas experience, then what we are requiring is for the learner to elicit episodic knowledge. Second is what we call semantic knowledge. So this refers to facts, okay, to concepts, to generalizations, but not related to um, the person. I mean the biography of a person, like for episodic or semantic. So it's semantics, meaning, okay, finding meaning to what you have. So it's about how we give meaning to life, okay? And we give meaning to life to what we see based on the facts that we have gained, based on the concepts that we have gained, based on how we generalize on things, okay? So that's what we mean by semantic knowledge. So episodic, I repeat, is your past experiences. Okay, semantic is how you give meaning to what you see, to what you experience. Okay, to the objects. So I repeat, these are facts, these are concepts that are in you, and your generalizations about life. Another, Dimensions of Knowledge by Anderson and Cratwell in 2001. So there are three according to this two authorities. It could be conceptual, it could be metacognitive, it could be factual. So when you say conceptual, example here is your ability to explain the theory of multiple intelligences, your ability to explain the principles of learning, your ability to explain what is conceptual, type of dimension of knowledge. That's conceptual. Your ability to explain, to elaborate on concepts. While for metacognitive, okay, this dimension refers to your awareness of your own cognition, yung mga bagay na alam mo. If you know how to assess yourself, like what you know, your level of thinking, your level of knowledge, that's metacognitive. Kasi nga, di ba? Kasi metacognition, it's learning how to learn, assessing uh, how do you see yourself as a learner? How do you see your learning style? So I repeat, metacognitive is your awareness of your own cognition, your own knowledge. Okay? So if you have that, alam mo yung mga bagay-bagay na alam mo at hindi mo pa alam, you know your learning styles, then you have the metacognitive dimension of knowledge. Yung ina-assess mo yung mga dapat mo pang matutunan. That's metacognitive dimension. And last dimension is what we call factual. So factual, it's very common in math and science. Like if we learn about math and science, we should learn about facts. So these are the three dimensions of knowledge. Now, what are the educational implications of knowledge acquisition? Why do we need to learn about these categories, these dimensions? So what if we acquire? So what if we know the different categories of knowledge? Okay, so what if we know the dimensions of knowledge? What's the implication now to teaching? Okay, it says here, for teachers, you need to know the practices, the activities that expert learners do, okay, that contributed for them to gain knowledge. Ano ba yung ginagawa ng mga expert learners that made them experts? Okay? And we should know this one because knowledge is not something that we feed directly. It's not something that we eat, we chew, then we digest, then nasa atin na. No. It's something that we work for. Okay? Pinagtatrabahuhan. Ano nga ba yung mga tasks? Okay? That will need our learners to do or to acquire knowledge. So we should know about this one first. So we could suggest it to our learners. Okay, we could guide them to acquiring knowledge. First, detecting features and meaningful patterns of information. So this means expert learners could see the essential information and the non-essential information. They could differentiate. That's what we mean by number one. Okay, detecting features and meaningful patterns of information. They could see patterns that could not be seen by novice learners. Ito yung mga natatanging mga mag-aaral na kapag pinag-aralan nila ang isang map, makikita nila yung mga bagay-bagay na hindi nakikita ng iba. Okay? That's the first activity. So what to do now? Lead your learners to understanding how to see these things which they cannot see, which an expert learner could see. Paano makita yon? Yung tanong kasi dito is, ano yung ginawa ng expert learner na yon kung bakit niya nakita yon? So lead this novice learners, guide them, okay, using questions, using suggestions and feedback in order for them to realize the essential to non-essential. Okay? Next, accumulating more content knowledge and organizing it in a manner that indicates understanding of the topic. So it starts with the content knowledge, the basic knowledge na dumami na dumami yung basic knowledge na alam mo, na pagdugtong-dugtong mo na, and then it gives you understanding of the topic. Like this one, we have the lesson about knowledge, but we study about the categories. We studied about the implications. We have the lesson about child, adolescent, and adult learning, but we studied a lot about these things in nature. Okay, we studied about learning. So pag napagdugtong-dugtong na yan, okay, dun nagkakaroon ng understanding. Okay, so it means it starts with learning of these topics into chunks. Okay, kaya nga unti-unti ang mga lesson, di ba? Hindi naman isang bagsakan lahat niyan. Araw-araw you have different lessons to present to your learners, because your understanding as a teacher is that when they are presented in chunks, okay, learners could connect, okay, from one chunk to the other chunk, making it a whole understanding. That's what we mean. Okay, pakonti-konti, little by little, step by step, but then making sure that at the end of the road, you meet the goal. And that is to make the learners understand about the topic. Okay, to consolidate everything into one. Okay, next, retrieving important aspects of knowledge with little effort. So yan, alam na alam mo na kapag expert learner ang kausap mo. In just a short span of time, they could recall. In just short span of time, they could apply. Okay, effortless, that's what we mean, effortless, because learning or this knowledge that is within them made them act, made them speak fluently, automatic, okay, less effort. Okay, next, adapting an approach to new situation. So an expert learner can adapt to a new situation using a different approach. Sometimes they could devise their own. Okay, like in mathematics, in science problem solving, minsan meron silang sariling formula, sariling strategy. Diba? So, you would know an expert learner, ito yung mga bata na maparaan. Na kahit hindi mo sinabi, they know how to approach a new activity, an activity. That even without the instructions, without those lessons na tinuro mo, meron silang nagagawa na adjust because they are flexible. So I repeat, for letter D, another term here is flexibility. These are learners who are flexible. Okay? Last, they use effective strategies. Effective for them. At pumapasok ulit dito yung metacognition. Like, they know what learning strategy fit their type of learning, their learning styles. Okay? Na alam na nila yung mga bagay-bagay na makakatutulong para sa kanila. Na alam nila that after school, for example, yung isang bata, nalaman niya that after school, nung nag-review siya pagka-uwi, mas naintindihan niya. Okay? Extended learning. Mas natatandaan niya kung araw-araw niyang pinag-aaralan. Meron naman yung iba, yung rush. Gusto yung rush, doon nila nako-comprehend lahat. Okay? It's not good, it's not bad. Okay? Kung ano yung bagay na makabubuti dun sa learning mo, your strategy that could apply best to your type of learning, then that's what you apply. At pag alam mo na yung bagay na yan, that's a signal, that's an indicator that you are an expert learner. Okay, now, the question is, how do we develop the following types of knowledge? Okay, balik tayo dun kanina. Nabanggit natin yung iba't ibang uri ng knowledge, right? Okay, but the question is, how do we develop inside the classroom? So for declarative, you could do rehearsals, drills, fact sheets, use of graphic organizers for recall. Okay, just to recall stored information. For concept, application of learning through inquiry or expository approach. Inquiry in terms of calling for higher order thinking skills. Like yung concepts na meron sila, how to test na meron sila ng concept na yan, you ask them questions. Okay, ask them to reason out. Ask them to explain. That's why it's expository approach. Let them explain. Let them elaborate. Okay? Procedure, of course, if it's procedural knowledge, they need to apply. There should be demonstration like sa TLE. Diba? Pag tinuro mo ang pagluluto, dapat mag-demonstrate sila kung paano iluto yung isang dish. Okay? Kung sa speech, tinuro mo ang paraan how to do public speaking, they should demonstrate it. It's procedural. How to do public speaking. In math, okay, tinuro mo yung steps and how to solve a problem. They should demonstrate it. Do a board work. Okay? Show the steps. Okay? So that's for procedure. For principles, okay, this type of knowledge, principles, cost effect strategies would apply best. Kasi nga, principles yan. So, give them a situation and then make an analysis. What's the cost? What's the effect? If you will do this, if you were nauseous of, if this did not happen, what if? Okay, yan ang mga tanto. Okay, these questions that call for cause and effect. Okay, in order for them to reason out based on their principles. Okay, based on the principles they gave. Okay, applying appropriate strategies for developing knowledge. This is the last subtopic. Question now is, how do we make or how do we help our learners acquire or develop knowledge? So of course, we need to advise. Hindi lang pwedeng pabayaan natin sila. We need to make suggestions. We need to make feedback. Sometimes we need to demonstrate. Okay, we need to present a lot of strategies and let them choose which one fit them the most, fit their learning style, fit their personality. Again, personality is another important aspect or consideration that we need to bear in mind when introducing strategies when dealing with learners. Okay, first, nabanggit na natin kanina yan. Number one, detecting features and meaningful patterns of organization. You teach them how to notice those things which novice learners cannot sense. The steps to noticing the unnoticed. Okay, the steps to noticing the essential. The steps to differentiating the important facts to not so important facts. Okay, like when they are asked to summarize. Kung sinasummarize lang, what we are going to summarize, words are the essential. At kailangan dyan ituro yung mga bagay-bagay na importante at hindi. Like the main idea and the supporting details. Okay? So that's how you teach. Of course, you need to teach first the basics. That's number one. Okay, from then on, let them differentiate, let them discriminate, let them categorize which are essential and non-essential. Next, organization and depth of information. So as teachers, we need to organize the content in a manner that it will be understood easily by your learners. Okay? From the facts, from the concepts that we have taught, ask them to elaborate more. Okay? Ask them to elaborate more by means of teaching strategies and how to organize these thoughts. Okay? So when we design curriculum, make sure that it's something that is facilitating the organization of this information. I repeat, it should be presented in sequence. From basic, moving to complex. Minsan pwedeng baligtad. Okay? But then again, you need to adjust yung questioning skills mo, yung questioning, your inquiry. But if you started with a complex, just to challenge your learners, make sure that your question really fit. Okay, your questions fit. Okay, your type of activity. Give them question if you started with complex activities or if you started with complex moving to basic. Okay, provide relevant questions that will lead them to understand what you are presenting. Okay, next is fluent retrieval. Ayan, when I say fluent retrieval, uh, less effort in recalling things, less effort in producing knowledge, in manifesting knowledge. Okay, and how to do this? How to help? Uh, Drills, yung paulit-ulit na rehearsals. Okay, yung paulit-ulit na practice. Okay, until such point that it becomes automatic. Kaya nga sa elementary, di ba, may mga flashcard pa, paulit-ulit na pagbabasa ng mga pantig. Kasi pag paulit-ulit, until such point na umabot na sila ng grade 4, 5, 6, ang pagbabasa, it becomes fluid, it becomes automatic. That if you see these letters, you know automatically how to produce it. Hindi mo na kailangan mag-effort katulad ng ng grade 1 or kindergarten ka. Talagang aalamin mo muna yung isang letter sa isang letter and then i-combine and then pagsasamahan mo, diba? That's what we mean by fluent retrieval. Next is adaptive expertise. Oh, yan. Flexibility na nabanggit na natin kanina. Teach them how to be adaptive. So how? You demonstrate, okay? You demonstrate and show how to be flexible. Okay? How will you demonstrate? And then show different ways how to cope up in different situations. Okay? That's how you demonstrate. And if you presented them with these options, they know how to apply. They know how to choose. They know how to select. Minsan, from your examples, makaka-devise pa sila. They would devise their own based from your example. So that's how we help for number 4. Next, for strategies. So when I say strategies, metacognition, I repeat, a listing down of different strategies and how to learn things. Present them, give them options, and let them decide which suits them. Okay. Number 6, spreading out and consolidating learning. So this is, for example, encouraging learners to review things in chunks. Okay, encouraging them to review on a daily basis. Okay, so that they could avoid cramming. If they review everything in chunks, it will be consolidated effortlessly. Learning will be consolidated effortlessly. They can connect links. Kasi ang ipapa-realize mo sa kanila is that if you don't understand this lessons, previous lessons, these basic lessons, it's impossible for you to learn the complex ones, the preceding lessons. Okay, so that's number 6, spreading out and consolidating learning. Okay, asking themselves questions. Okay, teach also or advise also your learners to make self-inquiry. Okay, raise common questions that they could ask themselves, okay, in order to lead them to develop knowledge. Okay, this is done by means of arousing your learner's curiosity. If you have aroused their curiosity, they would ask a lot. So it depends on how you motivate, on the motivation part. Okay, like it also depends on your question, the type of questions that you give, the type of activities that you give. That if they become interested, they will be curious, and of course, they would ask themselves the questions. Okay. Number 8 is taking good notes. Ayan. Jotting down notes. It's a very important skill because it will show if the learner has the ability to summarize, to categorize essential information to non-essential. Because pag nagsusulat ka, if you take down notes, of course, what you are going to write will be the essential ones. And teach them also that when they use notes, their own notes, they should use words that would call for their memory. Yung madaling matandaan. Okay, easy way of recalling things. Words that would lead to the easy manner of recalling things. Baka mamaya gumamit sila ng word from the teacher and then nabinasa na nila, hindi na nila maintindihan. So it should be personalized. Okay? At hindi yung taking good notes, yung alam nyo, alam minsan ng karamihan na pag nagsulat si teacher sa board, dinefine niya yung mga yan, tawag nila lecture. No, it's not like that. And it's not even lecture. It's copying from the board. Okay, because when say lecture, it's oral. Okay, so again, taking good notes. It's a way to develop their skills in summarizing, outlining, and the use of concept maps, visual maps na meron sila dito. It's like, kasi pag nagsulat ka ng notes, it's like expressing what's in the mind into the paper. Okay? You are making your own concept map. Kaya nga personalize ang mga notes. Okay? Last is using a study system. So in here, the role of the teacher is to suggest and assess the learning style. Assess the learning style and then suggest a study system in order to help learners to discover the system or the strategy that fit their personality, that fit their interests, and that fit their learning styles. So again, that's all for today. So later we are going to have the oral recitation using Zoom teleconferencing. That's for 40 minutes. So the questions will be based on the module. So I'm giving you, after this, watching this session, this lecture, I'm giving you 20 minutes to review everything using our module, which will be uploaded in the Neo LMS portal. So after that, after the recitation, oral recitation, magigisa kayo, so you listen very well. I mean, you read very well. I hope you have comprehended a lot. We are going to have our evaluation, okay? That's also using Neo LMS. And then 10-minute feedback time using our messenger in Facebook. Okay, so that's all for today. I repeat, we have just discussed the different categories of knowledge for us to know how to vary, okay, the topics, the lessons that we present to our learners. And it's a way to uh, develop a strategy that will help learners reach holistic development. Hindi lang iisang aspeto lang ng knowledge yung natututunan nila. Okay? That's all for this session. Good luck on your quiz later and your oral recitation.